What's going on YouTube? Kronos here and welcome back to the PSO2 video. So today's video is actually a bit disappointing. It's a follow-up video to my Gigantix hunting tips vid and not really going to jump into my usual spiel or anything along those lines. I just kind of want to jump into this and just have a bit of chat for you guys. So today's video is going to be very much in a podcast format. There'll really be a bunch of flashy stuff in the background, just me chilling out here at the cafe and talking with you guys because either what I presented wasn't presented in a way that was understood the way I wanted it to be understood, or maybe I can't really speak to what else was going on in that situation itself. I can only address what I had as far as an input in these situations. So I don't want to go into this again and kind of address a few concerns I heard from a lot of people in the comments of that previous video. So first things first, I want to talk to what Gigantix actually are and why any of this even matters in the first place. So with the most recent update, we got Gigantix to start spawning out in the world. Gigantix randomly spawn in exploration zones. Now, exploration zones are 1 to 32-man zones. They are usually used primarily for gathering. There are some, of course, trials and things like that. You can do a bit of leveling in them, but to be honest, they're not really the best place for leveling content. They're basically just gathering zones. And some have been like story-based zones and things like that, or just areas to go out to. But Gigantix spawn in these zones basically when there's rain. Gigantix are level 24 enemies, very powerful, and they only stay out for as long as that rain is going. And the rain's very specific. It's kind of like a torrential downpour that's like a sideways rain almost. And they spawn near a player. Now, the way the 32-man zones work is that the number of enemies or the number of players that are in the zone is how the enemy tends to scale. Now, we don't know if Gigantix scale specifically differently just yet, but in our experience, they've scaled the same way. Everything else scales in the entire game, just based on the number of players that are in that zone specifically, which is super cool. It means UQs scale very specifically. It means areas scale very specifically, but it does mean that Gigantix are a bit of a point of contention. Now, it's very obvious to me that a lot of people have had a lot of difficult times with this whole content popping up. A lot of people are saying this is some of the worst content that's available right now. And to be honest, I can't completely disagree with them. Because of the content that we have at the moment and the way that it's implemented in the world, it's a very, 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 very easy for it to become a toxic environment for everyone that's involved. And when I say that, I mean not only random players, but pre-made groups, big alliances, and the little guy. So why am I making this video? Why are we talking about this in the first place? Well, first and foremost, my content has always been centered around providing you guys information, what to expect, how to deal with incoming challenges and problems. And I always want to make sure that I'm letting you guys know of that information from the very get-go. Very, very rarely does my content ever take you in a route that says, this is how the content is supposed to be done. This is how you should absolutely do it. And you guys should only follow these specific rules. I never want to provide that sort of information. So if I ever have, or if I've ever presented in that sort of way, that is not my intention. And that does need to be, looked into. So call me on it. That's totally fine. I don't mind taking that criticism. What really kind of is upsetting, to be honest, is the reaction to the recent video talking about things being elitist, or how can I have this mindset, or why would I think this sort of way, or how can I just tell players to do this sort of thing? And it's almost baffling because I went back and I rewatched that video probably 3, 4, 5 times. And I've sat down and I've recorded this video probably a dozen times over, because I do make sure that when I want to provide you guys information about my content, that it is not coming from a place of like over emotion. Actually, to be honest, most people tell me that I'm a bit too monotoned when I speak about content. And one of the comments that I heard was, maybe I should have calmed down before recording this video, which is surprising, to be honest, because most of the time most people think that I'm way too monotoned or I'm too calm. So it goes to show maybe there was something that I missed or something I hadn't actually presented properly. So we're going to talk about this one more time, but we're going to do it in a bit more detail. So first off, Gigantix are very, very difficult. They're level 24 enemies. And if you're not at least level 20, all of your attacks will be defended against. It means it cuts your damage. You'll be doing anywhere between 2s, 3s, 4s, at the most 10s to the monster itself. And keep in mind that they're only up for a short amount of time, meaning the time that you have to kill them is very limited. If you don't kill them, you get nothing. No rewards, no loot, no experience, no completion of any, of the limited time dailies that we have available to us right now. And that stuff goes through. So how can we make it so that we're successful when it comes to Gigantix hunts? Well, there are 2 types of players that are going to go ahead and tackle Gigantix. There are pre-made groups, and there is the solo player. I'm going to say the solo player, but basically what I'm looking at is pugs. Pickup groups, people that are just randomly going in, logging into the game, you just finish your day at work and you just want to have a good time. So when I'm providing information, this goes towards both groups. Now, right now, pre-made groups are going upwards of 32-man groups that are all making sure everyone is geared out and we're able to take down this content. Now, what they're doing is they're jumping around to lobbies. Now, granted, not every group is doing this. I know our group specifically did this, but not every group is doing this itself. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and make the first change from my original video. This is what I recommend all groups do if you're looking to do pre-made content. Go ahead and find the zone that you're going to be going for the Gigantix in. Jump around until you find a fully empty lobby. Now, make sure you have your groups preset and everyone hanging out in town. And what can happen is that one person, when they find that instance that's just by themselves, everyone can join on that individual. Now, let's say something happens, someone gets disconnected, or maybe someone else just happens to see a group with a ton of people in it, which makes perfect sense, right? There's no way that they know that another group is going in there specifically to hunt a Gigantix. Maybe they're like, you know what? I'm gonna go hunt Gigantix. I've got gear. I can definitely do this. Let me see if I can find some other random players like myself that are looking to do this. Well, it's going to happen in a lot of cases. You're going to find that when a pre-made group is trying to put all their people into a group itself, there's one of two ways they can end up taking the situation. When they see someone else that's in there, they're probably going to know that, hey, we're missing some of our players that are supposed to be there. Now, at this point, this pre-made group might ask you to leave. This is the first thing a lot of people misunderstood from what I said. What I mentioned was just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and leave. But why did I say that? Why should you have to leave, right? Why should you have to go because they said for you to leave? Well, to be honest, you don't. You don't have to leave if you don't want to. But the same way that it's your right to stay in that zone itself, it's their right to be upset about it. They're just trying to get their friends into one group itself, and the game doesn't have a way to let them do that without infringing on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to find. What's going to happen in a lot of cases, that's happened in a lot of other games, is people are going to start blacklisting individuals that are just not going along with what they say. Is it right? No, I don't think so. But is you blacklisting someone or being blacklisted by someone really matter that much? No, that just means that person doesn't want to talk to you. They don't want to play with you. That's their choice that they get to make. The same way that you get to make the choice that you just want to stay there and keep them from having that one individual join their group. Now, personally, I don't believe that this should even matter in the first place. Like, why would it matter that you're trying to join into their group itself? Shouldn't they just let that individual, wait because you're there first? Well, no, that's not how pre-made groups work. If my 5 friends want to do something and there's only a 6-man group, and I find a group and then I can't go with my 5 friends, I'm just going to leave till I can find another group itself that we can go all together, which is what that pre-made group is probably going to do as well. The reason I said just leave is because I would much rather you guys not deal with that sort of animosity in the first place. Because what's going to happen is they're going to add you to that blacklist, which, again, I don't specifically agree with, but it's probably going to happen. This happens in a lot of other games that have similar situations because, to be honest, while I don't think that's the best way of dealing with it, I don't disagree with them for doing it. They're just asking for you to give them space for their friend. Something you can do very, very, very simply. You're literally by a Reaper device when you teleport in, just swap over to it. Now, I'm not saying that if you're already in a zone and then a bunch of people join your zone and like say there's only 6 of you guys here and then a bunch of other people join in and say, hey, yo, the 6 people that are here, you guys get out. Our friends are coming instead. No, if people are joining your zones like that, screw those guys. They suck. They should be looking for zones that are completely empty. That way they're not messing with other people that are around trying to do this stuff. But if you just happen to hop into a zone that they're already having their friends try to get into, and you can just as easily just swap blocks or maybe find a different zone of other people that are trying to do the same thing as you're doing, it's just the easier choice. And the other side is, even if you decide that you don't want to do that, they're going to leave anyway, meaning your zone's going to be empty. Now that's what you're looking for, then by all means go for it. But the only reason I said just go ahead and leave was because it's not only less of a hassle on that individual or that pre-made group, but it's also less of a hassle on you. And if you're on the pre-made group side and you ask someone to leave and they don't answer you and they don't do anything, just go ahead and find another instance. It's a pain in the butt. Yes, trust me, I know. I've got a friend of mine who worked really, really hard on setting up those instances for us. So every time they got messed up, it was really, really a pain in the butt for him to go back and try to find another instance to go through, and it took a very long time. It was to the point where we even talked about only getting on at specific times of the day, so that way we wouldn't mess with certain individuals that are just out there trying to have a good time in the game itself. But overall, that process sucks. Now, I want to talk to another point that I mentioned beforehand, which was password protecting rooms. Now, a lot of people got this as locking people out of rooms itself, but a lot of people tend to forget, or we forget, that password protecting a room works 2 ways. When you see a password protected room, you know that they're only looking for certain individuals to join them. That means that if those individuals don't join them, they're probably just going to leave. It's not that they're just going to magically say, oh, well, I guess they didn't get into the room itself. We already have a certain number of people. We're just going to go ahead and go with these random people instead, even though we were trying to group up with certain individuals. They're just going to go, meaning that just because maybe you and a friend are randomly joining a random other group, they're not going to leave out those other two people. They're going to go with their friends. And then the opposite side of things, an unpassword protected room says, hey, I'm looking for other people. It doesn't have to be anyone in particular, but I'm looking for random other people to join me. So the same way that those individuals that are trying to do pre-made groups have it easier finding a lobby if it's password protected, you also have an easier time as being the person that is a part of the pug of getting together other people that are like-minded. So this isn't just to help one side of the situation, it's to help both sides. So again, it's really easy to see that password protecting locks someone out, but it also creates rooms that aren't password protected to be able to come together and create pugs that much easier. So maybe you'll be able to find other individuals that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing, and you're looking for randoms to be able to do it. So just wanted to talk to that one specifically as well. And there was one other point I wanted to talk to in this case. And this one kind of really I don't want to say really upset me, but this one kind of hit a little harder than the most. Is I can't believe content creators like yourself have this elitist mindset. We knew that your true colors would come through, so on and so forth. There's a couple of comments that were like that. I'm not going to speak exactly which ones they were. I'm not sure if these people don't watch my content usually, if they're new with NGS or anything along those lines. But a lot of what I do is gearing up, and I advocate to not bother other individuals. Why I try so hard and why I'm so hard on myself personally is to make sure that whenever we do jump in with random people, that they can just have a good time. That, dad coming home after hanging out with the kids and talking with them, just jumping online to play video games, can just have a good time playing video games. Of course, we can give recommendations to individuals of how they can better themselves. That way they feel like they're not being a burden on the group itself. But I don't understand how any point in time anyone can look at this and think elitism when what we're personally doing is trying to set up a situation that's not only better for the pre-made groups, but better for the casual player base to just have a good time. Part of this that you guys didn't get to see was most of us that were trying to gear up, get all this stuff, weren't doing it out of greed. The first things that we were looking to do, a lot of myself and my other content creator colleagues, were looking to gear up so we can just randomly jump out into YOLO pugs because we know a lot of people are having really difficult times with killing this content. That's what I was looking to do itself. Why I gathered all the information that we did beforehand while we asked all these questions to a ton of our friends was to see what exactly you want to do to get this stuff together. Because to be honest, right now, things suck for people who are looking to pug. A pickup group is super difficult to find because, to be honest, there's no way for you to find other people that are like-minded. There's no pre-made queue system. There's nothing that tells, hey guys, I'm looking for a party to do this outside of just going to a zone and shouting for it. And as much as we want to play with great players to do all this sort of content, and don't get me wrong, great players are going to do this content as well, just jamming your way into pre-made groups is not the way to do it, because those pre-made groups are just going to disappear. And it's not going to be a good situation for yourself or a good experience for yourself or them on their end. I'm not going to go ahead and go too far into this video itself. Like I said, I've recorded this a couple of different times. I just wanted to speak to a few things and just kind of get my point across as far as why I recommend the things that we did in the first place. Because to be honest, I don't see how any of these sort of things come up as elitist or anything along those lines. It's easy to be upset right now because the system does suck. And I get that. I'm not a huge fan of how it works at the moment either. There are definitely some things that need to be changed, definitely some things that need to go through. And honestly, maybe a few weeks from now, it's not going to matter nearly as much because everyone's going to already be geared and they'll be able to smash this content. So it doesn't matter who shows up. I'm already getting to that point as well. While I'm trying to do that, I'm basically just taking the route of purchasing those items. That way I can just jump into running with you guys as soon as possible. That's primarily why I didn't stream on Wednesday morning, because one of the things I do dislike doing is going into pre-made groups and not being able to play with my audience, not being able to play with Twitch chat and all those sorts of things like we always do every single time we play. Literally every single time we come together, that is what we try to do. But like I said, maybe some of you guys are just new, don't know about this sort of stuff. So if you can, feel free, hop over to the Twitch channel, come on by, hang out. Maybe you guys will see a couple things. But anyway, guys, my voice is shot. I've been up for a crazy long amount of time. It is insanely late and I want to get this video out as soon as I possibly can. Hopefully you guys will have better experiences going towards Gigantix. And remember, yes, it is not just for the pre-made group. It is for everyone. So everyone has a better time. Everyone has a better experience fighting Gigantix, because I want everyone to be successful. The best thing is to see a random group pull together and do something that what we felt like is only going to be done in a pre-made group. Because I'll be real with you guys, sitting there those pre-made groups, the reason why I don't do it is because I don't like to. It's not fun. It never has been. It never will be. But anyway, guys, I'm not really going to go into my entire spiel as far as the outro goes. If you have any questions, feel free to toss them in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching the end, guys. Take care. Peace out.